Whether it comes to Bleach's Kenpachi, one of the strongest Soul Reapers, Dragon Ball's Broly who bullied multiple Super Saiyans, or DC's Doomsday that pretty much killed a seemingly invincible Superman, there is always that one character in a series that many people love due to their overpowered nature, warrior spirit, and outright insane feats of strength. Image Comics' Invincible is no exception due to the widely popular buff feline and scourge of the twin galaxies known as Battle Beast, that gave Mark and the New Guardians a thorough ass beating that left them with many pieces to pick up. Yet, such a battle left him bored as the people he was hired to cripple were not even worth killing. Despite not being a main character in the grand scheme of things, he is far and wide one of the coolest and most savage characters that bullied alien civilizations, conquered thousands of worlds, and punished the antagonists that will likely appear in the coming seasons of Invincible. And what better time to cover it than now? So how powerful is this big bad feline? And is he one of the strongest characters in the series? Or was he well beyond virtually everyone, seemingly having no equal? Well, let's go ahead and find out as I go over the entire Invincible series to find out just how strong he really is. And by the way, if you haven't read the comics, I will be going over spoilers, so you have been warned. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. Thokk wasn't always known as Battle Beast throughout the cosmos, but he quickly garnered such a title by fighting fierce warriors, freeing slave populations, and making his neighboring galaxies a better place to live in. Unfortunately, his goal to save a lot of people became shrouded with his warrior spirit and wanting for basically whooping a lot of ass. He acquired such a crazy reputation that, like some Lord Voldemort type shit, just by simply uttering his name, it made entire galactic empires cower in fear. Battle Beast is arguably the best fighter in the series, as he is mentioned in the handbook to being a nearly unparalleled master in all forms of combat, whether it be hand-to-hand, with clubs, swords, or hammers. And even if he were to be disarmed, well, tough luck because he can gash and rip open adversaries with his razor-sharp claws and mighty strong jaws. His senses are crazy because his eyes allow him to see in the night, detect the slightest changes in sound, and he can see, smell, and hear much, much further than even the most gifted humanoids, even Viltrumites. During his mission to seek out worthy adversaries, he was somehow captured by the Viltrumites, likely by ganging up on him, and he was held captive in a prison until Alan the Alien's plan came to fruition and he managed to help him and Omni-Man break out. His armor, his highly regarded hunting skills, and his nearly unlimited endurance that literally lasts for days made it so that even the most elite Viltrumites, such as the Executioner that threatened to kill Omni-Man in prison, found it extremely difficult to put him down, to the point that Thokk broke his entire body apart. In return for being able to fight really powerful opponents and kicking ass and taking names, Battle Beast agreed to help out Mark and Nolan in the battle against the Viltrumite Empire. And so this paved the way for the biggest conflict in the series thus far, the Viltrumite War. A conflict in which Mark had to face off against Conquest, who nearly killed him twice, and even as bad as Conquest was, he was still subservient to a villain that Battle Beast eventually had to face off against, that being Grand Regent Thrag. So for starters, to get an idea about how powerful Battle Beast is, we have to get a sense about how powerful non-Viltrumites and other aliens are. For example, we have Universa, whose staff is able to wipe out entire civilizations, and even as powerful as that was, she wasn't able to hurt a Mark who was much weaker than he eventually grew to become. Generally speaking, the Viltrumites, even like the most average fodder ones, were still powerful enough to wipe out entire civilizations by themselves, and they were considered much bigger threats than planet eaters that were considered to be small fry to bounty hunters such as Null. I go more into depth on this in my Invincible power scaling video, but other characters, some of them weaker than Viltrumites, were capable of life-wiping planets, absorbing and withstanding enough energy to do so over time, cracking moons like eggs, and defeating multiple heroes at once. And this speaks volumes because Battle Beast was able to take on not 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but 5 f***ing Viltrumites at the same time and was literally demanding for more to face off against him. And the fact that he was still demanding to fight more is really insane because although Alan the Alien, Mark, and Nolan were powerful enough to take on like 2 to 3, they were never seen as taking on 5. Even Thula, one of the elites, was unable to do anything against him as he literally batted her around, literally beating a group of mother with another mother. Oh, and the crazy thing is that Battle Beast doesn't have smart atoms, which is what makes Viltrumites really durable, and he also can't fly, so even though his movement speed was like hindered extremely, he was taking on multiple continental to planetary characters at the same time. And I mean, what can I say? Battle Beast is just born different. Anyways, to get a more solid idea about how powerful Battle Beast really is, we have to look at one of the craziest feats in the series, which is when Mark, alongside Nolan and other characters, managed to destroy the planet Viltrum by punching it really hard. And although they were knocked out by the explosion afterwards for a bit, we do have to keep in mind that this was Mark prior to a lot of boost in power. I mean, he was still growing in potential and in like strength. And the gang clearly weren't at full power because they were fighting a whole army like prior to that. So I mean, I'd imagine that if you're fighting like Viltrumites that can hurt you, and then afterwards they're trying to destroy their planet, you are not gonna be in tip-top shape, right? The core of planet Viltrum was unstable, but when it blew up, it would have likely released far more energy than the solar flare-inducing nukes that a weaker Mark was able to endure like with ease, like without a single scratch on him. And for reference, solar flares, to induce one, you would need hundreds of millions to billions of megatons, and nukes in this verse are powerful enough to do that. And looking back on it, this actually is very consistent because Brit, who is not even close to like a Viltrumite, had enough life energy to scare someone that was literally a life wiper and had basically laid waste to multiple planets in the past. And Brit was able to take multiple hits for days from someone that literally ate nukes. Now, we don't know how strong those nukes were, but going by the fact that, like, you know, just like a typical nuke or like a high-grade nuke, like maybe not the absolute best one, could already induce solar flares, this would lead me to believe that, you know, these nukes are far more powerful than whatever we have today. And this is not far-fetched because, I mean, the people in this verse have made artificial moons and mechs that were powerful enough to withstand the energy from the sun. So it is not hyperbolic that their technology would be this crazy. So please don't give me the they're only continental downplay, okay? Because they're clearly well above that. Even the average Viltrumite should be like multi-continental. Mark and Nolan are well above that, so Planetary, and Battle Beast is well above them, so Planet Plus is very reasonable, wouldn't you say? Apart from saying that Mark scales to a base spawn that he defeated or like an alternate version that did defeat him, there's other ways that I can kind of like highball or wank Battle Beast. Now this could be more so associated with attack potency, like just because you can dish out the power does not necessarily mean you can also endure it, in this verse at least. Because we can really go off of Omnipotus, who was stated to being like a world shaper or life wiper, maybe even like a planet buster, even like in a really nerfed state. But his highest ends like have him like being able to wipe out star systems through a chained reaction. This doesn't mean that he can like one-shot a solar system, but it does mean that his body can withstand such energy levels. And although we don't know how powerful he was when he was actually like in his prime or like in his empowered state, like once he came back, I would imagine that he was still really strong, and literally Dinosaurus, who couldn't do anything to Thrag, one-shotted Omnipotus. So if you want to scale it to star level, you could, man, unironically. I'm not saying that it is the fact, but you know, I'm just saying, you know, you can wank him up there if you wanted to. Because I mean, he's Battle Beast, right? Just in a tangent here, I want to bring up that while reading about Battle Beast, he reminded me a lot of Kenpachi's Araki, like a character from Bleach. And this character, he's basically like this big bad Chad Soul Reaper, and he was regarded as being one of the strongest characters despite not having any like transformations in his sword, because in this verse like you have the Shikai and the Bankai, which are like two powered up states for your sword. Yeah, Zaraki was still like really powerful even without it. He did eventually obtain it, but if you think about it, Battle Beast, while he was fighting all of those Viltrumites without being able to fly and move at his full potential, was technically like a nerfed Kenpachi. Luckily, we did get to see Battle Beast fight at near his full capacity once he faced off against Grand Regent Thrag, who, as I said, was so powerful that even the mighty conquest that gave Mark a lot of trouble cucked down to him. Now with Thrag, I don't really see myself making a video on him, like specifically, because I can just cover how strong he is here. I mean, he has millennia of experience and he was like meant to be the best of the best among the Viltrumites, to the point that Alan didn't want any beef with him, and Omni-Man alongside Mark were straight up bullied and were pretty much about to be killed by him, like very easily. Prior to his meeting with the exiled Thrag, Battle Beast got it on with his chick and dropped onto the battlefield. Unfortunately, Battle Beast was betrayed by his lover as she dropped down the payload of Ragnar to ensure that Thrag's resistance was cut down immediately. Originally, these incredibly powerful creatures that any Viltrumite feared, even Omni-Man did, were meant to be the final resort against Thrag in case of Thokk's defeat. But instead of fighting alongside the creatures, Thokk decided to help out Thrag by slashing them down. Defeating the Ragnar may not seem like a big deal at first, but these creatures are devastatingly powerful and durable thanks to the intense gravity conditions on their home planet. And the crazy thing is, just one, not even the strongest and biggest ones, were already able to keep up with Viltrumites and fatally hurt them. Now imagine a whole group of them, and even so, the combined efforts of Thrag and Battle Beast managed to cut the pack down, which was like them fighting multiple planet busters at the same time. Now, why did Battle Beast help Thrag? Is he insane? Maybe, but he actually did so because he thought it was dishonorable to team up on a being that he thought was his biggest challenge yet, and his glory would not be taken from him by mere unintelligent slashing machines. Unfortunately, since Thrag suffered wounds in the battle, to even up the odds, Battle Beast did the only thing reasonable, with quotation marks, in his mind, and that was to fatally wound himself and toss away his blade and hammer, to fight Thrag one-on-one with his powerful claws, jaws, and fists as his only weapons. And Thrag was basically like, what the f***, dude, like, did you really just do that? He was just left befuddled by Thokk's actions, and he considered him a fool, thinking that it was dumb that he thought of, this war as nothing more than a game. But Thokk said that he wasn't fighting for fun, he said that fighting for honor was his life, and that he wanted to obtain the title of the greatest warrior in the cosmos. And so began the battle of the century, the strongest Viltrumite against the strongest in the universe. You might think that the battle lasted a few minutes or hours, but no, it lasted entire days, which means that their stamina is ridiculous even while having heavy wounds. Both of their clashes were so powerful that they threatened to destroy the very world that they were fighting on, as Thrag and Thokk traded blows, becoming more and more wounded and bloodlusted as the battle went on. Despite losing an eye and bleeding profusely, Thrag declared that he had to win to ensure the survival of his species. Both warriors were on the verge of defeat until at long last, Thrag collapsed after he had slightly pulled off a win against the Scourge of the Twin Galaxies by tearing and smashing apart his heart. And in response, Battle Beast didn't look at him with hatred, but instead thanked him for giving him the battle of his life and for giving him a warrior's death. In respect for giving him a fair battle, Thrag wore his fur as his pelt and had his body burned away ceremoniously. Thrag might not be a good person, but he was surely not without honor. Fortunately, his sacrifice was not in vain because thankfully, Mark and the others ended what he started and defeated the ultimate Viltrumite and his army. Yeah, Battle Beast lost, but if you think about it, he was still nerfed in the battle because, for one, he didn't have his standard equipment because he tossed his stuff away, he outright hurt himself, and on top of that, he had wasted some of his energy by smashing his partner and giving her the Thokk. So, he clearly wasn't at full capability, and if it wouldn't have been for those conditions, I believe that Battle Beast would have defeated Thrag, albeit still with a really good degree of difficulty. In conclusion, apart from a hypothetical Adam Eve without her mental limitations, who is actually really OP, so if you'd like me to make a video on that, let me know, or a timeskip Mark hundreds of years into the future, I would be really confident in saying that overall, within the first 24 volumes, that Battle Beast was the strongest character in the franchise, and was slightly above Thrag at least. Since Battle Beast scales to Omni-Man, who literally traveled to another galaxy within a couple of days, which would make him billions of times the speed of light, and due to him scaling to Alan, if not being stronger than him, who literally travels across galaxies, and was stated as having reaction times that were pretty much comparable to his travel speed, this would mean that Battle Beast was well over several billions of times the speed of light, and likely a bit faster than most Viltrumites because, I mean, he was dodging punches from like 4 to 5 of them at once. And as I said, going by the scaling in the series, he should easily be Planet to Planet Plus, well above many of these other characters. And, you know, just attack potency-wise, he's just, like, ridiculous. His durability and his tenacity to keep fighting despite having these nasty wounds is, like, virtually unparalleled by everyone in the series, except for Thrag. But yeah, what do you guys think? Is Battle Beast truly the strongest character in the series? Am I over-exaggerating? Or do you believe that, like, a hypothetical Eve without, you know, her limitations, or, like, Thrag was still stronger? You know, please let me know. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And also, I was thinking of doing, like, a Battle Beast matchup with Kenpachi because I feel that they kind of scale similarly, like, depending on the scaling that we use. But, I mean, let me know, because I really want to do something with Battle Beast because I feel that thematically, he and Kenpachi really fit. And I want to see, you know, your guys' support. I want to see if you guys really want to see it. So, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you thoughties next time. Peace out.
So, this is the team. Whoa. I was just gonna say it. This guy fucks, am I right? Because I'm looking at the rest of you guys, and this is the guy in the house doing all the fucking, am I right? You know I'm right. This guy fucks.
Thank you.